Give somebody one task to complete in one day, and research shows that they'll procrastinate, stretching it out over more time than necessary to complete. Give somebody 20 tasks to complete in one day, and they'll probably complete about 12, leaving roughly 41% incomplete, according to the Busy Person's Guide to the Done List. So it seems like too few tasks isn't good for the brain, but overloading and too many tasks also isn't good for the brain. Now, I myself have a tendency toward taking on too much, too many tasks and too many goals. And I've seen that, but whether your tendency is toward taking on too little, not reaching for enough, or taking on way too much, I think we can all relate to the pressure that comes from trying to juggle multiple goals in multiple areas of our lives at the same time. Our professional lives, our family lives, our personal lives, so many different areas. And I've seen in my personal bent toward striving to be excellent in as many goals as possible that this isn't always a healthy way to live. You see, when I hyper-focus and zero in on one area of my life, often other areas suffer. Or when we overcrowd our lives with way too much stuff, then sometimes it sucks the joy out of life and makes it challenging to just enjoy the moment as things come. So if this crazy bent toward excellence and reaching all of our goals, as many as possible, isn't all that healthy, well, what's the alternative? Complacency? Yuck. When I hear the word complacent, I think of words like lazy, apathetic, unconcerned, and I don't want anything to do with those descriptors describing my life. But maybe complacency isn't altogether bad. You see, we've already said that we can't do everything at one time, and sometimes it's okay to say no to things. That can actually be a very healthy way to live, to say no to something. So, in her book, The Lazy Genius, author Kendra Adachi puts it this way. She says, be a genius about the things that matter and lazy about the things that don't. So there's these two things that seem like extremes, excellence and complacency. They seem like polar opposites, but maybe they're not. Maybe there's a balance. Now, I think that the balance comes from cultivating a life of contentment, a lifestyle of contentment. Now, contentment isn't something that we just do. It's a personal frustration of mine when people say, just be content. You can't turn contentment on and off like a light switch. You can't do that with any other mental or emotional state, and contentment is simply no different. Now, with a quick Google search, you'll find different practices on how to cultivate contentment. Through blogs and podcasts, you'll find different tips like purge your closet and donate items that you don't use anymore, or start a gratitude journal. And these are all great tips to bring about into your life, but a big part comes from a perspective shift, a little bit larger. Now, I think a big part of cultivating contentment comes from learning when to say yes and when to say no to activities, possessions, and even big ideas and dreams. When I was in my early 20s, a mentor of mine said, Rebecca, a challenge for you isn't going to be getting opportunities. A challenge for you is going to be in learning when to say yes to things and when to say no to things. And he challenged me to write a vision statement, one sentence and one sentence only explaining what I wanted to do in life, and one sentence and one sentence only explaining who I wanted to be. And time and again, I have used those two sentences as sifters when I'm presented with opportunities. They help me decide if something is worth contemplating more in a decision-making process, or if I can quickly say no to it. And this doesn't give us a pass on doing things that we just need to do to be mature adults. We can't tell our partner or our roommate, hey, I don't want to go to the grocery store because that just doesn't fit my vision statement. No, we can't live like that. But having some guiding principles written down relevant to your life can help act as a sifter when presented with opportunities. It can help you decide if something is worth thinking about more, or if you can unapologetically let go of it. And here we're balancing that tension between excellence and complacency. We're being excellent in the things that do fit our life purpose, and we're being complacent and letting go of the things that don't. And when you fill your cup with things that align with who you are and where you're headed, it will help you to be content. But in this place of contentment and living purposefully with that, it's also important to think about your values and put words to your values and decide in advance that you'll choose your values over your goals when the two are in conflict, because that will happen in life. A friend of mine who is a high-achieving college student who also has a value of integrity recently told me about a time when she had this goal to get an A on a core class for her studies. And she'd studied, and on the day of the final, she goes into the final and realizes that the professor has accidentally, and it's clearly an accident, made it easy for students to cheat on the final. So she was conflicted in the moment. Does she go solely from memory and not look at the answers that were there by accident, or does she look at the answers and feel more comfortable about her chances of getting an A? Now, my friend decided in the moment to go solely from memory. And when the grades came out, she was a little disappointed because she ended up getting a C in the class. But she said she had a lot of peace. You see, she had chosen her value of integrity over that goal of getting an A, and contentment won her emotions at the end of the day, not the disgruntledness of an unmet goal. And that helped her to have contentment because she had chosen her value. She'd stuck to that. Now, even in this place of striving for contentment and trying to be very intentional and rest in that, I think it's good and okay for us to learn new things about ourselves and be comfortable with adjusting our goals accordingly. I like to call this giving ourselves the freedom to adjust our mini goals. These are the smaller, more quickly achieved goals on the path to something larger. And here's what I mean with an example. My older brother really likes to run. He's a really good runner. And I have friends who also enjoy the activity of running. So a few years ago, seeing all my friends and my brother enjoy this activity, I thought, I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna try to run and be a good runner. So being the goal-oriented person I am, in my annual planner, I had all of these goals written down about running. And so I started to try this activity of running. But there was a big problem in my path. I hated running for running's sake. And I know that people will say, if you do it enough, you'll like it. But I was trying, and I didn't like it. But meanwhile, while I'm striving to meet these running goals, a friend of mine invited me to take some tennis classes. And I didn't know it at the time, but I really enjoyed the sport of tennis. But I wouldn't have known that had I not tried. And soon after that, I moved to a different town. And to meet people, I decided to join a group fitness class. Again, didn't know I liked group fitness, but I really enjoyed that as well. So taking that, I changed some of my goals related to fitness and got rid of the running goals and replaced them with goals related to tennis and group fitness. So like this fitness scenario, it's okay to let go of something and say no to it and replace it with something that is simply a better fit. And it doesn't mean to be a wishy-washy person. If you change your goals too often, too quickly, then you run the risk of falling into that complacency category. But it's okay and healthy to learn new things and adjust. I like to think of this as looking at the larger picture. The larger picture for me was to be healthy. And there's multiple nutritional goals or fitness goals that help get you there. It's okay to say no to something, be complacent in a sense, say no to it, and replace it with something that you enjoy more and can be excellent in while being content in who you are and where you're at. So there's a tension between not striving for enough sometimes and overcrowding our lives and filling our plates way too full. And the balance comes from cultivating a life of contentment. You see, when you're content or satisfied, it doesn't mean the absence of striving for excellence and trying to reach goals, but it does mean you're able to say enough. I can rest here. In crafting a life vision, choosing your values over your goals, and being comfortable with learning new things about yourself and adjusting your goals accordingly are all ways that help with this perspective of practicing contentment in your day-to-day life. And again, it's not something that you just do. It takes a lot of active perspective work, and we'll never be done with it. That's why I like to call this style of living with a content pursuit. Still striving for excellence, still trying to reach your goals, but now with contentment. Thank you.